You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Isn't that very nice? Welcome to the A Foreign Affair podcast, episode 218. I am Edward Green. Unfortunately, I will not be joined live by McCall and Crime, Wes Bradshaw. So today will be a fairly quick episode. We know we do have some World Cup to recap. We also have some transfer news to talk about. Some big moves going on there, especially involving some Premier League clubs, as well as some other clubs from other confederations. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll also, of course, hit the Watch 4. I don't believe there'll be a So Raw this week, as Wes Bradshaw, unfortunately, is just completely inconsolable. And you will be hearing just a little bit from him later on in the program. And we can't call it Anfield Corner because it's not about Liverpool. Although, he's not going to talk about Karius this week. Or ever again, maybe. We'll figure out a name. I'll figure out something while I'm going through this alone. But I'm never alone because you guys are here. And I am being presented to you by NGSC Sports. And NGSCsports.com, we never stop. Certainly don't. On a night like tonight. So when last we left you guys, we had just finished the round of 16, literally, like a couple hours before we recorded the podcast. So we hit straight into the quarterfinals. So let's get a quick recap of the weekend's matches. France kicked things off with a commensurate win over Uruguay. 2-0 was the score. Goals from Raphael Varane and Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann having a very, very good tournament, helping lead France through Uruguay. Uruguay, we talked a lot about last week how they had a lot of strengths and not a lot of weaknesses. The one thing is they're like that fighter. They're like Mario in Smash Brothers. Stay with me. They're very balanced. They're very all-around good. Sort of like how Mario also is in Mario Kart. Just an overall very good, but he doesn't also have any strengths. Now, we thought Uruguay might have had a actual real big strength with their defense was good. And their offense was good in Cavani and Suarez. France, though, was able to kind of negate that, and without a moment of magic from one of those two guys, there was nothing they could do. Still a good showing for Uruguay, but France just too strong, and we realized that they've clicked. They have clicked after a very unconvincing group stage. France, as we will mention, is starting to get hot at the right time. It's I like to say in sports, sometimes it's a marathon, not a sprint. No, the World Cup is absolutely a sprint. And that is what Brazil found out as they ran out of gas against Belgium. Although very, very tough, weird game for them against Belgium. Belgium coming off, of course, against after the big comeback against Japan where they were down 2-0 with 20 minutes to play, winning 3-2. Belgium struck first in the 13th minute when a Fernandinho header went into the back of his own net off set piece. I will not say it 3 times because fuck Fox Sports. But that put Belgium up early. It seemed to kind of shake Brazil up just a little bit. Not as much as when Germany 7-1 them last year, but still just a little bit nerdy. And then Kevin De Bruyne, just a phenomenal goal on a break that Belgium created. He made it 2-0 in the 31st. Brazil, though, really pressured well in the second half. Renato Augusto with a goal in the 76th minute pulled Brazil back within one. Brazil just peppered shot after shot at Courtois and Belgium's goal. Neymar had an absolutely beautiful chance in the 92nd minute. The ball was almost put on a tee for him at the top of the 18-yard box. curled it deliciously into the top corner, but Courtois was there and able to make the save and keep it out. Just a great job by him, as well as the rest of that Belgium defense. They held strong. And Brazil, the team when last we left you, we thought was the best team left, and the favorites to win it all, they went out. Just rough go for Brazil. It has not been a kind couple of World Cups for them in recent memory. But again, unlike the Germany 7-1 loss where they just kind of fell apart, this wasn't like that. They were just a bit unlucky on the Fernandinho header. De Bruyne had a piece of exquisite awesomeness, and then they tried to come back. They really did, and I actually thought they were going to equalize towards the end, but just couldn't find the goal when they needed it. England went into their match against Sweden as decent favorites, even though Sweden had been doing big things in the tournament. But through Harry Maguire and Dele Alli, England took a 2-0 victory over Sweden. Probably their easiest game of the tournament, even maybe the Tunisia game. Just a strong showing from them. Really inspiring Englanders to believe, and West especially. And then finally, Russia-Croatia 2-2 for the second straight match. Both teams go into added extra time after goals just 8 minutes apart in the first half had them at 1-1. For Croatia, Domago Vida put Croatia seemingly through for good in the 101st minute at 2-1. But with 5 minutes to play, Mario Fernandes, a somewhat controversial figure for not Russia in particular, but being very Brazilian-born and having come over to Russia in weird circumstances, he actually equalized for Russia in the 115th minute, sent it to penalties, but once again, Croatia does get the better in penalties. 4-3, they advance. Kovacic, the miss there, Fernandez, and Smolov misses for Russia. But Croatia do go through on another round of penalties. So that brings us to the semifinals. We're recording this on Wednesday night. Tuesday, France played Belgium. Not a great game, not an all-time classic, but a good game. For the result to be 1-0, it was actually a really good game. The difference in that match, Samuel Umtiti with the goal in the 51st minute for France. And Belgium, kind of like Brazil had against them, Belgium had chances. And they really came out and played very well. I know ESPN put out a video basically, or ESPN FC put out a video basically saying, oh God, they're terrible. Belgium, what's wrong with what the Golden generally bad? No. They're actually really good this tournament. They did really well. Like, save for like 60 minutes of that Japan game, they were really good. And I'm not going to call them tough luck losers against France. I think the better team on the day won. But, and I know we've had expectations of Belgium. I think to call this a failure, unless we're going to Ricky Bobby it, or if you're not first, you're last. And as his father would go on to say later in the movie, that's just stupid. You can be second, third, hell, even fourth. I know that's not the exact quote. I don't give a shit. The point is, Belgium could still finish third in this tournament. And that would be a very good accomplishment for them. With the way their 2014 World Cup ended in the quarters to Argentina in not very good fashion, and then getting bounced from Euro 2016 unceremoniously. This was a good showing for them. It looked for a minute like it wouldn't be. They looked like they were going to go out in the round of 16, but they picked it back up. They beat the tournament favorites at that point, and they looked really good doing it. So that doesn't mean I all of a sudden have a lot of faith in Spanish Bob, but to call this like a bad result for Belgium, I don't think that's true. And I think that's painting in very black and white terms, which I would expect nothing less from ESPN FC and the boys there. So I think Belgium have nothing to hold their heads or hang their heads up for in this tournament. Could they have beaten France? Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they were as good as France. These were, once we got down to these four teams, these were probably the two best teams left. So yes, Belgium absolutely could have beat France on the day, but they didn't. They didn't get embarrassed. They just lost. That happens in football. In the knockout round, one team has to win and one team has to lose, and this time it was Belgium. So, rough go there. And then today, earlier, the reason West Bradshaw is so upset, 2-1, Croatia beats England in extra time for the third straight match now. Croatia had to go to extra time. Kieran Trippier with the 5th-minute free kick goal for England, though, gave the Three Lions so much hope. But then Ivan Perisic nearly put his cleats into the back of Kyle Walker's head. Fortunately for the back of Kyle Walker's head, and unfortunately for the rest of England, his cleats actually found the ball that was crossed in, and he managed to put it in the back of the net. That made it 1-1 in the 68th minute. They went to extra time. John Stones had a wonderful header off a set piece that almost went in, but was cleared off the lines by Croatia's one of their defenders. And then just 4 minutes after the extra time restart in the 109th minute, Mario Mandzukic got free and it was on a headed ball from Perisic and was able to put it past Pickford. And that's the way it ended. England actually had to play down to 10 men for the final, I think, 10 minutes with Kieran Trippier getting injured and then England being out of substitutes. So that was a bit... It was always going to be tough coming back down 2-1 extra time. Being down to 10 men made it even harder. But I'm going to say the same thing for England as I did for Belgium. They have nothing to hang their heads about. Great performance this World Cup. Just wonderful, wonderful job. We talk a lot on this pod about sometimes, we talked about it with Nigeria back in the group stage. Maybe sometimes teams are just like a year early or a cycle early. Like Nigeria came into this tournament, they're like still like a cycle away from being amazing. They were good, but they're a cycle away from being something really special. England, I think, is at that same point, to the point where, unfortunately for West and the rest of England, expectations might be really high going into Euro 2020. This team could be very dangerous, and they were in this tournament. I mean, they very realistically could have been playing in the final in Moscow on Sunday, and instead they are going to be playing a third-place game in St. Petersburg on Saturday. But again, phenomenal tournament for England. They have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm sure it hurts, just like it does for Belgium. It hurts very bad to get this close. Even if you were no favorite to even get this far at the beginning of the tournament, it hurts to get this far and not finish it out. But hey, they still do have a chance, just like Belgium do. They have a chance to take home some... we call everything silverware in soccer. It's not silver, I guess it's bronzeware. They do have a third-place match. I would expect a somewhat different team than came out the last couple matches from Gareth Southgate's side. But still, it could be a wildly entertaining match when Belgium plays England. And then France will play Croatia on Sunday. I believe... the line that I looked at was France is a 1-2 favorite, and Croatia's an odds to win are 9-5. I think France, Croatia has a little bit of team of destiny to them. I know at one point I said I think going after the knockouts, or not the knockout stage, after the group stage was done, I said I actually thought Croatia was the best team in the tournament. I don't really think that anymore. They looked really tired. They looked gassed for stretches of the and I told this to Wes Bradshaw when we talked after the game, because I saw it happen for Colombia against England after they equalized, and I saw it again for Croatia after they equalized. When Croatia found their equalizer in the 68th minute, they got this like gigantic boost of energy, and it lasted for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it kind of just petered off. Like England were very much on the ropes for the next 10 to 15 minutes of that match, and then it just kind of, oh, well, now what? Granted, they were able to find a winner, but I told him I thought we're going to find the winner. They looked better going into extra time. And again, if John Stones gets that header in, then the whole game just flips around. So the reason we've always bagged on France is because they seem ultra talented, but whether it's because of the scamps or whatever, they never seem to really come together and click. They're clicking now. And if they continue clicking into Sunday, I think they're going to win 3-1. I would peg as the result. I think France is that much better than Croatia. I'll be honest, in a lot of ways, France-Belgium was kind of the final. Those were the two best teams left, in I think a lot of people's estimations. Not that Croatia doesn't have a chance. This is not David versus Goliath. Despite the fact that, in case you didn't know, Croatia is the second smallest country to ever make it to a World Cup final. Oh my god! But so I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's David versus Goliath. I think it's David versus a slightly taller human. That's it. Like, okay, you're slightly taller and slightly bigger, but whatever. Not that big a discrepancy. So, but that I do think France should be the favorite, and I do think France will be hoisting the trophy come Sunday. So, congrats, France, unless they run away or something. Wes Bradshaw's not here, so I had to do it. So, also, it does look like, in case you care, Harry Kane is on pace to win the Golden Boot. The only people left in the competition who can catch him, Romelu Lukaku, who is on 4 goals to Harry Kane's 6. So Lukaku would need a brace and 1. Also, though, Griezmann and Mbappe for France are also on 3, so if they can get a hat trick or the sombrero for 4, they could win it, and that's again if Kane doesn't score in the third place match. So that's World Cup news. We'll obviously be talking third place match and final, and talking about the World Cup overall next week. Big pod next week. So now we're gonna hit into the news and notes. We'll take a little transfer talk, some big transfers going on. Real quick, just going through some intriguing ones here in the Premier League. Start with one. This was an interesting one. We knew some of the pieces would come off West Brom after they were relegated. Ben Foster coming from West Brom to Watford, the goalie. A pretty good goalie. We'll see how good he is at Watford. I think he's obviously an upgrade over what they had there. He was once very good and then kind of fell off a little bit last year, but still I think a big upgrade for Watford in a position they've absolutely needed. So we look at Jack Wilshere moving from Arsenal to West Ham on a transfer. Not the last time you'll be hearing those names in the news and notes. So that's a big get, I guess, for West Ham. But another big get, this one for Manchester City. Riyad Mahrez leaving Leicester on a £61.02 million fee. I believe that is a record signing for Manchester City because God help him, got to set a new mark every year now. So he's going to go as a right winger. Great. Good for you, City. Some other moves, though, come in the last day or so. Matteo Guendouzi is going over to Arsenal from Lorient in France. Another kind of big move for West Ham. This is actually kind of big. Andrei Yarmolenko coming over from Borussia Dortmund for about $18 million. He is a little older. He is 28, but good player for Dortmund. So we'll see how he goes there. So that's the Premier League news. Some other news. Former Tottenham Hotspur legend, of course, Paulinho, spent 1 year at Barcelona and was like, nah, I'm good. So he's going to go back to his Chinese team, Guangzhou Evergrande, because, okay, I guess, whatever. It was, if you can play for Barcelona, or if you can play for a Chinese team, I guess you play for a Chinese team. He was good too, which is the weird part. It's not like he was bad for Barcelona. He was actually pretty darn good. Not great, but he was good. So I don't know. Weird. So Fernando Torres is going to Japan. Cool. And then the last one, because of course it is, The move we were talking about right at the end of last week's pod, because it seemingly came out of nowhere, and it actually happened. Cristiano Ronaldo will be moving from Real Madrid to Juventus. So now everybody and their mom will be going to Real Madrid. It's a $139 million, that's US dollar deal. So does this shift the balance of power from a team that's won 3 straight Champions Leagues to Juventus, who were very good in their own right? It's going to be interesting. And what happens to Madrid? How do they reload from here? Obviously, at Ronaldo's age, I can't say this was a terrible idea by Real Madrid, but it's definitely a seismic shift in the continental landscape, especially once we get again to the Champions League. For Juventus, I mean, this probably means they're going to win another Serie A next year. Congrats, guys. Depending on what Real Madrid brings in, I would right now peg Barcelona as the favorite to win La Liga. And then the Champions League, your guess is as good as mine. It's going to be crazy. So that is the news and notes for the week. Not much else to go on here. We do have the Watch 4, where I mentioned what I've been watching the week that was or the week that will be. Did go and see Ant-Man and the Wasp last Saturday. Very good movie. Another good Marvel, shocking. Another good Marvel movie. For those of you who either watched Infinity War or listened to our spoiler cast a couple months ago from it, obviously one of our big questions was, so where does this movie fit into the timeline after, everything that happened at the end of Infinity War? We find out it does take place before Infinity War. At least a decent amount of time, at least 6 days, some months, I would imagine. So, good movie though. Stay all the way to the end. All the way to the end. It's a really good movie. Very good. So I'll be interested to hear Wes Bradshaw's thoughts when he gets to see it as well. Also, Darling in the Franxx comes to an end. That was an anime. That was one of the more animes to ever anime. Big animes. Big animes. So that is going to do it for my part, though. And yes, we are going to now throw it over to my very sad colleague in crime, Wes Bradshaw, as they're not lions. Lions Pride, because they're Pride of Lions. Lions Pride House. Yeah, Wes Bradshaw's Lions Pride House. I don't know. Wes, save me from this.
Three lions on a shirt. Jewels from May still gleaming. 52 years of hurt. Never stopped me dreaming. I know that was then, but it could happen again. It's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming. Football's coming home.
Thanks so much for that, Wes Bradshaw. I'm so sorry. My heart legitimately broke for you when that game. But he will be back next week. We'll be doing a live pod next week. It'll be great. Once again, we will be re-examining the World Cup. We'll be hitting news and notes. Watch 4, so raw, sure. And then as I look at the calendar, so that will be the 18th. Okay, good. That's good. That's a good one. So we will have the 25th, the 1st, and I think the 8th. We will have 3 weeks to, let's see. I don't actually remember if we did a breakdown of teams 15 through 11 in the Premier League last year. We're not going to, because I don't really care. I'm going to actually bring up real quick the 2017-18 Premier League standings because I don't remember them. As far as like who was 15 to 11. Yeah, league table, please. Thank you. I just pulled a Wooly. Brighton and Hove, Watford, West Ham, Bournemouth. You guys aren't that interesting. Not enough for us to like actually talk about in a recap. Where I mean, if we had more time, obviously we would, but maybe we will. I do kind of want to talk about Palace, who finished 11th, just because of how bad they started, just how wretchedly bad they were at the beginning. But for sure, we will also do a recap of the top half of the table, just in time for Premier League 2018-19 to start, which I'm pretty sure starts the 10th. I could be crazy, and maybe I am. Am I crazy? No, I'm not. 10th of August. So yeah, we will have 3 episodes to break down what's happening in last year, and then preview this upcoming season. Oh God, summer. What are we gonna talk about? But again, thank you so much for joining us here on episode 218 of the Foreign Affair podcast. Big shout out to NGSC Sports, who presents us at ngscsports.com. We never stop. You can find them on Twitter. You can also find us on Twitter at AFAPod is our collective handle. Wes is at Wes Bradshaw 21. I am at Edward Green. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, the All New Sports Show. You can also email us to that address, allnewsportsshow@gmail.com. Once again, thanks to all our podcast providers, including iTunes Music Store, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, and Podbean.com. Once again, we'll be back next week for episode 219 with Wes Bradshaw live back in studio-ish to talk about the big World Cup final that is happening again. France-Croatia this Sunday, third place match, Belgium and England on Saturday. We'll be recapping all the festivities there as all of World Cup 2018. So until then, for my Colin Crime, Wes Bradshaw, I am Edward Green. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Foreign Affair podcast. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy the football. Good night, you Lions. Have a rest. Have a cuddle. You deserve it.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on NGSCsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.